Hi everyone, welcome to my next video. I'm going to talk more again about being an estranged mom. But for those of you who are not estranged from your adult children and maybe not interested in this topic, hopefully you'll still watch it because I'm talking not only about my own personal experience as an estranged parent of an adult child, but relationships in general, and how we perceive others and how we perceive how they perceive us. Because I think that relates a lot to all the anger, all the blame that's out there, all the denial. And sure, I'm not a professional that can pick this apart in a million pieces and analyze it. I'm just going by my own experience, my own intuition, and my own background. And that's how my channel is anyway. And if you're a therapist and want to chime in, please feel free. And we're all a work in progress, even therapists. So with that said, I made some notes because this is a very emotional topic for me. Many of my topics are actually, but this one in particular, because I just recently made a decision. I've been tormenting myself over whether or not I should write this memoir about being an estranged mom. And reason being, I don't want to hurt my daughter. I don't want her to be upset. I don't want her to be even more angry than she is already. And I don't want her to feel overwhelmed. We have not spoken in, gosh, has it been 5 years? I think it has. Since I received a text from her out of the blue on Christmas Eve, telling me that if I ever contacted her again, she would get a restraining order. Now, prior to that, I had not spoken to her in 5 years. Where that came from, I have no idea, and I may never find out. Was I hurt? Yes, I was devastated. But here's the topics, and here's the focus of this video, because I am going to write my book, and I am so driven, and I want to also tell you that as a writer, when I wrote my first memoir, I See the Elephant, I just felt like I had to get it out of me. I felt like I had this enormous fire raging inside of me to tell my story. And I wasn't sure how I was going to tell it. But as I wrote it, the story told itself. And I believe that's what's going to happen with this book. And I'm not going to tell you the title. I really like it. It's a one of a kind. There's no other book out there with this title, so I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. But I'm really excited because I am going to write my book, and I'm going to write it with compassion, without blame, without anger, and with as much insight as I've gained so far. Will I probably gain more insight as time goes on? Possibly. And that's the beauty of being self-published, because if I do, I can always edit my manuscript and update it to anything new that I've learned. But I want it to be a positive experience for any reader. And if my daughter ever reads my book, I hope that it provides insight, clarity, and a positive impact for her. I have no expectations that she will, and I have no expectations that my granddaughters ever will. But that's how I create my books and my videos anyway. For anyone who happens to come upon them, find them interesting, find them valuable, that's all I'm doing. I'm just expressing my own thoughts, my own intuition, and the knowledge that I've gained so far in my 70 years almost on this planet. So the first reason that I'm going to write my memoir about being an estranged parent, and I'm going to start with my great-grandmother when I start writing this, because my poor great-grandmother was very hated, and I never understood why. My mother despised her, and I so wish my great-grandmother had left a journal or something. And it chills me to the bone to think that perhaps she had, because if my mother had found it, most definitely my mother would have thrown it away. My mother only spoke of her briefly, and in those brief, nasty comments of hers, they were deeply disturbing and very hateful. However, the one time I met my great-grandmother, she was very loving to me, and she gave me a beautiful gift at Christmas when I was only 14 years old. And I'm writing about that. My mother's hatred towards my great-grandmother prevented me from ever getting to know her. And I'm going to share that also in my book, and it will be in my first chapter. My family has a history of hatred and anger and blame. I'm only going to offer my own meager insights as to why that is. My father claims that he was abused by my grandfather, and I also witnessed my grandfather being very abusive towards a horse. So I was not included in my grandfather's life at all. Yet he lived in the same town, and I'm sure he saw me walking to school. I don't know how he felt, because I never was able to talk to him. And I grew up believing that he was a horrible person, because my father told me he was. But interestingly enough, my father had a lot of issues himself, so who knows? Maybe they hated each other equally. I don't know. But their inability to resolve their differences resulted in myself and my two brothers never getting to know my grandpa. Oddly enough, my father had a stepsister who we were also estranged from, because my father didn't like her either. And I'm going to write about the one time I saw my aunt, or actually the two times that I remember. And I remember her as a warm, compassionate person. I remember her soft, compassionate brown eyes looking at me. And I remember as a child wanting to go live with her, because I could feel her compassion, and I could see how she was tolerating my father's hatred. And I'm going to write about that also. Now, there's something interesting that has helped me decide on whether or not to write my book. And that is that a lot of these YouTube channels are so polar opposites with who's blaming who. And I realized that I am not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming myself. I'm not blaming my daughter. We are all broken people. None of us chose our DNA. None of us chose our inherited personalities. And none of us are perfect. Yet there are things that we do have that we can choose. Yet we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. And I'm also going to address that in my book. But overall, it's not going to be what some of these videos I see focused on. This person did that, I did this. This is how they made me feel. And there doesn't seem to be any resolution or clarity or insight in terms of moving forward. And I see this lacking in a lot of YouTube videos. And there are a lot of broken parents out there. And I get it. I feel their pain. I understand where they're coming from. And perhaps they're creating videos as a more therapeutic means for them to sort through the issues that they're having. Yet, and in a way, maybe I am too, because I look forward to all of your comments and all of your suggestions. And I look forward to your comments and suggestions, especially in this video, because I feel that I have resolved my situation as an estranged mom. And I'm going to make that the driving force of my book, because that is that I accept my daughter for who she is. I accept her choices. I accept her decision to estrange me. And I accept my own feelings of disappointment and of pain. But it is what it is. And there comes a point in time where you have to wish your adult children well. You have to allow them to live their life. We do not own them. We have absolutely no right to control them. And we have absolutely no right to expect them to cater to our emotional needs. And I see that a lot happening as well, where some of these YouTubers are disappointed that their adult children are not meeting their own emotional needs with the expectation that they should. And that's a huge mistake, because we should not have any expectations from anybody, even our spouse. And maybe that's why divorce has this term, hopefully I can pronounce it, irreconcilable differences. It means you'll never be able to patch things up because their truth is different from yours. And they are entitled to their truth. Unless, of course, there was extreme abuse, which there was in my case. And even if their truth is not your truth, so what? Accept it for what it is. See them for who they are, or who you think they are, and accept the fact that they have a different perception of facts and past experiences than you. And I believe that has a whole lot to do with moving on. Because if you stay stuck in any situation, any personal differences, I believe that's what keeps you stuck in the anger and the blame and the lack of inability for insight. And I believe that this is why I love being a writer. Because I think, and I hope, that my memoir about being an estranged parent will be inspiring to some of you estranged parents, or even people who are in a relationship that you've been estranged from, where you don't understand what went wrong, and you're tormented, and you're devastated, and you can't think clearly. And as I write my story, I believe my subconscious, as it did in my first book, will reveal a lot more insight than I'm even aware of. And I hope that makes sense. And that's why I love being a writer, because when you write, I go into this, I guess it's called a flow state. 12 minutes. I'm sorry, I had to look at my time. I guess it's called a flow state because I just let my mind free. And that's the best way I can explain it. And sometimes I look back at what I wrote and I can't figure out how I thought of it. But I realized that what I wrote was really what I felt. I hope that makes sense. And in a way, my videos are the same because I don't have a script. I just have an idea what I'm going to talk about, especially in today's video. So another reason why I'm writing my memoir, I decided, was partly because of my age. I'll be 70 years old in December, and I want to leave behind a legacy of all my stories. I want to leave behind a legacy of who I was, how I felt, and what I learned. For anyone who finds value in them, plain and simple. Some people won't, some people will. I'll never know. At least I won't when I am no longer. But I love the idea of writing all my stories and leaving them behind, especially with this one. Because if my grandchildren ever read them as they are adults, who's to say what they'll think? But I like to think that since I was a child and was never able to know my great-grandmother, maybe one day they'll have my book. So at least they know me, whether they agree with me or not. And I like that. I like that idea. And even if they do not have warm feelings for me, or if they don't relate, or if they're bitter and angry like their mom, that's okay too, because that will be their feelings and they're entitled to their feelings. Now the big question you're probably all wondering is, am I hoping for reconciliation? And the answer to that, as I've mentioned before, is no. And that is because at this point in my life, I've really arrived at a wonderful, peaceful existence. I love my simplicity, my creativity that's come full circle, that I never felt that I should pursue in my childhood. And I'm finally doing it all now. And I don't want anything to threaten my calm life, my happiness, my security within myself. And I do not want any complications or unnecessary stress. I've been there, I've done that, I've had enough. And that is going to be yet another chapter in my book, where you can forgive someone, you can forgive yourself. Yet there comes a point in time where you say goodbye and you wish them well, and you hope that they have things in their life that fulfill them, that bring them joy. Yet being estranged might be the best thing to keep moving forward. And I don't know what will happen in the future, but I like to think that I'm leaving my book behind for my daughter and for my grandchildren and for any other relatives that might pop up and read them. Although on my side of the family, I'm the only survivor. And so I'm not writing it for them necessarily. I'm writing it for any estranged parents out there in hopes of shining my inspiration, my wisdom gained, if you can call it wisdom, share how I've endured, how I suffered, yet I do not harbor blame, hatred, or resentment. And there was another benefit, there's another benefit to watching all these YouTube videos, and I watch many of them. It's not anyone in particular. But a lot of the comments on these videos help me to kind of take a step back and think about why I'm writing this book. And I read a comment, and I think it was actually from a psychiatrist. And he was telling this other person, not me, this other person, her reason for creating the videos that she was doing. And I'm not going to tell you who it was, but it was such an insightful comment. It made me think really hard about writing my book. And his question was, is this video for self-validation? Or is this video, what is the purpose for your video? And that was his question. It made me realize that a lot of these videos are for self-validation, for the parents to claim that they don't know what they did wrong. And that very well may be the case. But to me, it doesn't matter, because when it all comes down to it, our children feel the need to estrange themselves from us. And so, in a way, this person is validating their own behavior by claiming they don't know what they did wrong. And they're focused on wrong versus right, rather than the situation where they are now. And I hope that makes sense. For example, my daughter never took up the offer to speak to me, because I asked her repeatedly, please tell me what's wrong. Please tell me what's upsetting you. Please tell me why. And she really is a sweet girl. She's very smart, very motivated, and very successful in her career. Yet, she's very much like her dad. And I am extremely at the opposite end of the spectrum. Very empathetic, very emotional, very passionate. And she is not. And I'm not finding fault for anyone like that. Her dad was like that. And her stepsisters are like that, who I will also talk about. And it could be a genetic factor in her personality makeup. And it's absolutely no fault of hers. And I am in no position to find fault or judge. So I think we need to come to terms with realizing that we need to take people for who they are. Not just our children, but our own parents, our own friends, our own relationships. And get away from this blame game and finding fault. And so I got off track and I lost track of time. I'm up to 20 minutes. But my closing comment in this video is going to once again mention that I'm writing my book for the purpose of inspiring anyone who's struggling with an estranged relationship, and to encourage everyone to look within and to stop with the blame, stop with the anger, stop with the judgment, and stop with needing to validate your own position. Because I think that's where a lot of this anger is coming from the adult children. And I can see it more clearly now. Because there are parents who are claiming that they did nothing wrong. And the adult children are finding fault with that statement. And in a way, I can understand that. Because it's not about doing something wrong as a parent, but it's about how our adult children perceive what we did as wrong. And I think that's the key. It's how our adult children have perceived our actions, our words. And that is what's missing, I think, in a lot of these videos. And I'm still working on myself too, because I don't want to ever hurt anyone. And I want this book to be a beautiful, compassionate, what's the word I was going to say? Legacy. That I want to leave behind. And will it matter? I don't know. But it feels wonderful. I love writing. I love expressing the parts in my life where I've learned things. And even the sad things, like this instance. I don't expect any happy phone call or sudden reconciliation. And if there was an attempt, I would be very leery and very hesitant to accept that olive branch. But again, I'm not making any predictions about the future. But I hope you're all looking forward to my book. I plan to publish it in the spring of 2026. I want it to be a beautiful, inspiring, motivational for anyone, even for adult children, and for anyone, even if you're not a parent. So please, I'm especially curious about any of your comments. And if you're therapists, please offer what you think and perhaps suggestions that you might want to give an estranged parent. And I suppose people will find out because I'll be using my real name as an author. But again, I don't know how she'll view this book. But if it's written in a beautiful, supportive way, I hope she doesn't take it as a hateful extension of my view about her, because I don't hate her at all. I love my daughter, and I always will. So please feel free to leave your comments. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos in here. The weather's getting really cold. I've been working on my ditch out in my driveway. I bought a drainage pipe, and I expect to be done with it in the next few days. You guys have all been really great with your suggestions. And I'm going to show you what it looks like when I'm done. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Wherever you are in the world, do something fun. Do something special for yourself. Take care.